pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will make a note to,
Pick up flag.
yeah, 'cause I think I've said that for 2 meetings, so I will do that before the next meeting.
Okay. First, everyone's here except Mr. Trask. And I forwarded to you a copy of the minutes, the notice that Ron's term is up and you'll have someone new here at your next meeting. And
Do they have a replacement?
actually, I asked that question because back in my day, we sometimes appointed people in the December meeting, but not in years when you have new council people coming on.
Okay.
We would do that on years when the interim years between elections. So I'm sure they know who it is, but they're not, I'm not sharing it. I actually asked if they're going to make the appointments in December simply because I would invite the person, whoever that is, to the meeting, but they're not going to be made until January, which is actually the proper time to do it. It's just that, as I said, when we were going to have the same council on, we used to do it in December because everybody could start out in January.
Yeah. So January is our
Reorganization.
reorganization. If we don't have a quorum, then we can't have a meeting. Would that be correct?
That'd be correct, but their meeting should be, well, depending which meeting they do it at, but their meeting should be before our meeting.
Okay.
Their reorganization meeting will be the first Monday in January,
Okay.
and we're the second Thursday.
Right.
So if they do it at the reorganization meeting, that's fine. If they wait until they have their public meeting, that could be a problem. But, so,
Okay.
okay. But either way, the three of you are a quorum.
Correct.
Yeah, so. Okay. All right, the next thing to do would be ask for approval of the minutes.
Make a motion.
I second.
All right. Then, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meetings are unanimously approved. Okay. We discussed Ron's end of his term, and we're now down to Mr. O'Brien, Lieutenant O'Brien's State of the Police Department.
A couple things to go over for this board. Officer Conrad's last shift is actually tomorrow. His official retirement isn't until late February or early March because he has terminal leave that he can take. But tomorrow will be his last day on the street. It's 26 years. Officer Kehoe is his replacement. With this board's assistance, council did something unusual and swore him the replacement in before the other guy actually retired. And that was in order to get Kehoe into the academy. So he's roughly halfway done the Temple Police Academy. I've spoken with the director myself, and he's performing very well, and I'm not surprised about that. I was going to mention or thank Ron Trask for his service to this board. We talked informally about the building construction, and it's moving along. It can be difficult at times, but the department's up and running, which I guess at the end of the day is all that really matters. We are going to transfer one patrol officer, 2 detectives. No, they have no official decision has been made yet. By the time there's the next meeting, we should have the answer. But just this chief does not just appoint somebody. Well, first, a detective is not a promotion in Plymouth Township. It's a lateral transfer. Some departments it's a promotion. A lot of people think it's a promotion, but a detective has no more rank than a patrol officer under our structure. But under this chief, to try to eliminate any perceptions of like a good old boy system or who knows who, he actually appoints an independent 3-person board usually the two supervisors who are going to be directly supervising that person, and in this case, it was the third lieutenant. And they interview anybody who's interested, and then they present who they recommend to the chief of police. And of course, he holds veto power. It's his department. But he very rarely exercises that. And I think that's good for morale, and it makes people think, that they have a fair shot. At least I hope so. So he's instituted that. They've concluded the oral boards, and they're hashing out amongst themselves because they have some differences of opinions. But one person should be transferred to detectives within the next 60 to 90 days.
Is that to add a detective?
It's to do both. We have Detective Ponzak is on an 18-month deployment to Somalia right now, as he's a colonel in the U.S. National Guard. He's done a combat tour in Iraq while he was with us, and he's just been activated again. They're in the gear-up stage now, where they're training, getting their equipment ready. Sometime in the early, right after the holidays, they'll be actually moving out to the Horn of Africa, and we don't expect having him back until about this time next year. But when so we'll be breaking even for this year, for lack of better words, in detective unit. I strongly believe that they're going to keep that unit increased. So at the end, when this is all over, yeah, that detective will stay there. It's not a temporary position. Because I'll get to I'll circle back around to some of this. It's in my notes here. The group of recently hired officers, I think I've mentioned this before, is the best that I can remember. We have 3 of them on the street right now. All of them are riding on their own. And when they first start riding on their own, we don't really count them as a body, so to speak. So if we like to have 5 on for that shift, we don't count that new officer as a 5th person. We'll bring someone on overtime, so we'll actually have 6. While just because they're on their own doesn't mean they're fully up and running. But the one officer, the number 1 on this, Officer Murthel, he's now considered a full member of the squad. I believe that Pagan Rodriguez will be behind him about the end of this year, as actually counting as a full member of the squad. And Hennessy, although he's doing great, doesn't have prior law enforcement experience. So our eagerness to get him on his own and have him actually count for body gets slowed down a little bit because the other 2 officers come to us with experience. But we've talked about this before. This board held special meetings. This board went above and beyond, and Plymouth Township's going to be better for the next 25, 30 years because of it. Because these officers that, by having these special meetings, these officers were going to be hired by other departments. And by getting those 3, 2 of them had offers, and the 3rd was going. So the next person who's up on our list, like we talk about, was offered a position by Abington, and he accepted it. I believe that he was going to be a good officer as well, but Abington saw it, and they grabbed him. And so that leaves the next person up. I spoke with her just today before this meeting. She's currently a college professor. She just got her master's degree, and she is still interested in coming to this police department if and when the opportunity arises. And I believe that we will have an opening before this list is expired. And I strongly believe in her also.
Why does she want to go from a college professor to a police officer?
Yeah, that's probably a good question. I don't know. I don't know if she's doing it part-time. I didn't get in, but I know she just told me she literally just finished up getting her master's degree.
Wow.
And if she is still interested, I believe that she's going to be a good fit for this police department also. And I think that we will have that opportunity. Who knows, but I think that somebody else may leave for the next year. And the chief wanted me to pass on that, as he typically does, when we're done gathering all of our stats at the end of 2023, It likely won't be for the January meeting, but he'll come before this board, probably at the February meeting, to present this board with the statistics, and to talk about his vision, his plan for 2024. And this goes back, and that's why I said I'd circle back. We're busy. Our stats are, in almost all meaningful categories, are up, and they're up significantly. And just keeping my eye on what's happening in December, that's not changing off of this 1 month. But our calls are up by the thousands. And this goes back to why we need another detective, because when the officers are responding to more calls, then there's more calls worthy of investigation. And I do believe, not violent crimes, not serious crimes, but I believe that there are arrests out there on the table, so to speak, that we just can't get to because they don't reach a certain threshold. And doing things like maybe like a retail task force within Plymouth Township with officer and detectives, things that maybe it's time to get a little more proactive, but as always, manpower is always a consideration or a concern. And the other thing with detectives is that, patrol, if you're short, you can pay overtime. And you can always get, if you want 6 people on that day, you only have 5. Our overtime budget is solid. The chief is very open-minded. But if you're short a detective, there's no way of bringing that unit up to speed. We have put temporary detectives in there. But that's more for the officer to get experience. Because anytime you put someone back there, they're actually a little bit of an anchor because you're teaching them so much and you're getting them experience, and there's a payoff from that, but they're not really helping out the detective unit while you're doing that. It helps the department overall. You can always increase patrol with overtime, but the detective unit is kind of what it is. So that's why the decision was made, even though we're fighting a little bit with manpower to make that transfer. So I think I'm done talking unless anybody has any questions for me.
I do. Is there a police contract yet?
There is. So we worked 2023 without a contract. The 2 sides couldn't agree, so in our case, we don't strike, obviously. So we go to arbitration, binding arbitration. Literally about a week ago, it came back. And I thought it was about done. I don't think anybody can consider, this is Jeff O'Brien speaking now, but I don't think anybody loves it, and I don't think anybody's upset with it. It was, everything stayed the same. Raises of 4 1/4, 4 and 4. It's only a 3-year contract, and it backdates to January 1st of 2023.
So you have a 2-year contract.
So in 18 months, we're going to be right back here again, but negotiating. Hopefully it can get worked out through negotiations and not through the court the next time. But every once in a while, we have to go this route. I'll leave it like that on a tape civil service meeting. There was things the officers wanted, and I'm sure there's things the township wanted. So it just seems like the arbiter kind of did what arbiters do, and they went, did the arbiter thing. But I wasn't really that involved in, just sit back and listen. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I have a personnel matter, and I'm going to be 70 years old next year, and I'm not retiring, but I'm cutting back my practice. And I decided that I think that my time, I've been 34 years getting checks from the township. It's probably long enough. I will stay on until you get someone. I'm just not going to seek reappointment. I'll certainly stay till you get a new solicitor. That's an interesting job for you because you have to realize that you pick your own solicitor. The way the structure is, the township hires the township solicitor, but the zoning board hires the zoning board solicitor, or you hire yours. I'm sure the township will give you a great deal of assistance and probably some recommendations, but it's a big job for you to find someone that you believe can understand the police department, understand civil service law, and just help guide you, which hopefully I've done all these years. So that's my announcement, and as I said, I won't leave you out without a solicitor. You know, if you want to take your time interviewing people and deciding what has to be done, I'll happily come back here and continue like I've been doing. But I'm just letting you know that I am cutting back, and you know, this is just one of those things that I enjoy it. I've enjoyed every moment I've ever had with the township, working with them. It's my last little part that I stayed with, but I certainly, 33 years was a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Spears.
Thank you for
so
your
much.
service, and
Thank you.
at 70, I hope I'm not doing anything.
Yes. So,
I
Feet
saw
on the
personnel
beach.
matter on the agenda, and I was like, I was trying to run my
You
brain
don't-
down. What personnel
I'm gonna
matter?
get fired.
because no one must read
All I
my
want to do be on the beach or
my-
something.
agendas.
I do.
Nobody asked me.
Yeah, I read it, and I was like, personnel matter, and I was like,
You know, it's one of those things you don't want to ask.
Perfect time.
All right, Jeff.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
It's a long time.
It's funny because I was doing the minutes, and Jeff mentioned how many new policemen there were in just the 11 years that Brad's been gone. I think in a year or two there'll be no policemen left that were, well, the chief, and I guess Jeff, were here when I started as a councilman back in 1990, but not many.
You still have me beat. I didn't start till 91, so it's only the chief at this point in time. It's been around longer.
Well, it's funny, they had hired, I think just before I became a councilman, they hired like 13 officers. It was the biggest number ever that they hired.
Was
And
9.
9.
I was one of those 9.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
And you were on council when I started.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any public comment?
I just want to bring up something. At the beginning of the year, I made a motion that next year, somebody else is appointed as the chairperson of civil service, and I felt that every year somebody else should be giving it to. This way everybody gets a chance to have it. Well, Karen approached me and she said that she wanted it. You know, she'd be interested in it. And next month, I'm going to nominate Karen to take her
Cool.
place.
That's a
So,
great idea. Way to go, Karen.
Yeah.
You know, but like I just felt that, you know, everybody, there's 5 of us, and everybody should have the opportunity to at least do it 1 year. So that was my proposal, and like I said, next month I'm going to nominate Karen, if that's okay with all you guys.
We're just trying to relieve some of your responsibilities, Mr. Subio.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Not for any other reason other than
Thank you.
just trying to lighten your burden a little
Yeah,
bit.
thank you. What she was saying, I have cancer, and I have to take chemo every 2 weeks,
Oh, that
and it
sucks.
is brutal.
It is
It is brutal, believe me.
I did it a couple of years ago. I hear you.
Well, you know what it's like. You're always tired.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, happy holidays to everybody here. Best to you and your family.
And all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I guess we can adjourn.
Make a motion.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
That's
Yeah.
right. Ay, 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 ay.